Good morning. Happy Friday to everybody. Ready to close out the week strong with another Huddler in the hot seat and a great episode.
So this segment gets a lot of traction because it's talked about often. I see people, they like, oh, that person, so it really drives some interest. Speaking of driving interest, yesterday, right off the huddle, there were a couple people who started commenting that Giannis's comment was the best thing ever, and I call absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
I bumped into some people and I said, take a look at some real athletes who own the experience, like LeBron, who said, I played like shit.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, so shout out to Brian Lynn. Had a virtual coffee with him yesterday. He's going through some things, but he's doing great. But that's the way we started our coffee yesterday. Where he was like, how about Giannis? And like, what an unbelievable comment. And I was like, sure, there's something to be said for the progress and that it's a stepping stone and stay positive about the journey. But ultimately, there's got to be some ownership. You're the guy leading the ship. Like, you're the dude.
If you replay the last minute of that game, when they had the last possession, he is at half court on his ass. And just number one player in the league, cut me a break.
Regardless of even what the performance was, even if he would have played lights out, I just don't know anybody that would be considered a great that would have had that comment in the postgame. That wouldn't have owned the moment.
Shaquille O'Neal.
I think like everybody else, when I didn't win, I was very hard on myself. Like he missed a lot of free throws. We talked about that before we talked about how his team shot. So when you're the great player and they expect you to win and you don't win, in my mind, it is a failure. I played 19 seasons and I failed 15 seasons. When I didn't win, it was a failure, especially when I made it to the finals versus the Rockets and lost, made it to the finals for the fourth time with the Lakers and lost. It was definitely a failure. So, I can't tell everybody how to think, but when I watch guys before me, but the Birds, the Kareems, and, that's how they thought, so that's how I was raised. So he's not a failure as a player, but is it a failure as a season? I would say yes. But also like his explanation, I can understand and respect his explanation. But for me, when we didn't win, it was always my fault, and it was definitely a failure.
And I 100% this.
So Charles disagrees, which is typical. I'm like, come on, Charles.
But to me, this is like high performers don't like mediocre people. Mediocre people don't like high performers. Like, Giannis wants to make everybody feel good about the season still. And I bumped that. Like, no way.
It should hurt. It should be so
you
bad.
Should feel this. It should matter to you. Like, and you should, and as a leader, you should take responsibility for owning it and looking it in the face. And so for those people in the audience that aren't sports fans, this isn't about sports. This is about failure. This is about setback. This is about being a leader, and this is about being honest with yourself and owning the results and then doing something about it.
So I can't wait.
Herm Edwards, in honor of the draft, Herm Edwards said, you play to win the game.
Right.
Yeah. So I can't wait to get Nikki involved in this. We have an unbelievable guest today. We're thrilled. She's a global traveler. I'll introduce her properly after we get her walk-up music, and then we're right into the Huddler in the hot seat.
Let's wake it up.
I'm on top of the world, eh? I'm on top of the world, eh? Waiting on this for a while now, paying my dues to the dirt. I've been waiting to slide, eh? Been holding it in for a while, eh?
right. And with that, we get to welcome Nikki Upshaw. She is the Senior Vice President of Sales at Oceania Cruises. But as many of the folks that are here, like Lainey Jones says, this is the ultimate boss lady. I was fortunate to get introduced to her last year. We had a great time getting to know each other, and she's amazing in business, in life, in philanthropy. Tell us your story, Nikki.
Oh my goodness. Doesn't everyone squirm a little bit when you say, tell me your story in this short period of time? But yeah, I grew up having this urge, this need, this passion for travel. And the main reason I think about this and reflect on this often now is because travel to me connects people, right? And you were talking before at the beginning of the show, right? Ultimate responsibility, but part of that is connecting with people, figuring them out, what makes them tick, what motivates them, why are they motivated by that? And then you learn through that process. And the more I traveled, the more I found how we're the same, but then also the unique differences make life really interesting. So my story started with just wanting to be part of a travel industry. And that took me to the cruise industry.
Obviously, you've done that. And I was going to say, if you look at your experience, it's all in the cruise business. So, what got you into that from whatever background you had? What got you into cruises?
Yeah, I went to the U and studied marketing. And from there, started out bottom, oh no, I know. We
You've got a gator and a knoll here. So
I know.
Really.
At least you're not gators. At least you're not gators, there's that.
Yeah, amen to that. Although I was one at some point. So I'm kind of all over that.
But won't hold that against you then.
Yeah.
But started at the bottom up and really what got me into the cruise industry is that I felt it was a very, very new industry at the time. So I'm also wired from an entrepreneurial perspective, innovation. So I thought, here's something that not a lot of people still know about, and I can grow with it. So studied marketing, then got into sales. And so most of my career has been in sales and marketing with different luxury cruise brands. And the one unique difference, even though a ship, was I had 10 years at the World, which is today residential ship, afloat, and was had the great privilege to both launch that project and back to being a category of one. How do you do that? And so it was exhilarating and challenging and daunting all at the same time.
So I've got a question for you. You, in a travel industry, in a sales and revenue facing position, have climbed the ladder through multiple organizations and through the corporate structure. What has been the secret to your success as a woman doing that throughout your career?
Boom, baby. Well, the secret, there's no magic bullet, but I would say the main secret is staying true to yourself. I think women, especially women, tend to try to morph or change their personality, their demeanor, their outlook to be able to fit in. And I always share when I mentor, young women coming up through the ranks, is that I feel my secret to my success was to stay true to you. And certainly, yes, make sure that you speak with conviction and you have your shit together, right? Your stuff together. Yeah. But it does come from, don't change your stripes. Don't try to be who you're not. And that actually that resonates, right? When you're honest, when you're true, when you're fair. And so I would say that's number one. The other
I want to dig into that a little deeper,
okay.
Because for my generation, I think there's more women role models that they could look up to. My mom was a single mom doing her own thing. And, she was a role model for me as my dad was. So how did you have the courage to do that? I think there were far less role models for you. I think there were far less examples.
I think Mary Tyler Moore was like the only role model.
Right. So where did the courage come from for you to do that?
That's I would say certainly my mother, Although she wasn't in direct business, but she was one of the strongest women I know. We moved from Panama. She did not know English at all, and passed her boards as a nurse and just kept going. She was, just a force. I'm going to make sure that I continue on the path of being able to, keep my career and support my kids at one point. And I think the other is, it just came from, and I talk about this with friends. I don't know, there's a great level of optimism I have and confidence. And where did that come from? I feel like I never thought there was a limit to what I could do. And I was surrounded by friends and family that also supported that. So
we talk about
even though there weren't a lot above me, I thought, why can't there be, right?
Yeah.
We talk about that often here, is that confidence is a lot of times self-driven. You yourself are responsible for that confidence and that ability to move forward. So, what I want to ask you is a little bit more current. Yes, you've had this great career. You've seen sales change over the course of all of the years. Then just like everybody, we all get hit in the mouth with the pandemic. Nobody's traveling. So I'm curious to hear your perspective of what's changed. How did you handle it? And where does it live in your heart now?
Yeah. And the biggest, the cruise industry is one of the few, if not the only industry that was completely shut down at the pandemic. And back to self-motivation and running a team that at the time wasn't sure if we would make it. What really was important was to stay, in my mind, stay truly focused to very few things, right? So right now it was about ensuring that our travel partners and our cruise public knew that we would be back and that we were taking every precaution to sail safely. So it became mostly a game of assurance versus sales. It was, reassure, support, be, confident in that. What's changed now is there is a newfound excitement for travel because it was so, we were cooped up, right? There's this pent up demand, which has been fabulous for business. But I also think that everyone is a bit more cautious. So I think that that's changed the way we have to position, our sales, description has to be much more thoughtful about the protocols. And unfortunately that's waning, but it's still a consideration for many is, how are you keeping me safe and secure? And fortunately, again, the industry as a whole has done a fabulous job of that. I would say that the other part is balance. I think what I learned personally, and I think with my team, is that it was a wake-up call like, oh my goodness, we are running ourselves into the ground and we can still accomplish so much like this, connecting virtually instead of jumping all over, the country and running yourself ragged. Your health suffers, right? Your balance of, let's call it life, say maybe there's not balance, there's calibration, right? But of life, with friends and family suffers. So let's not forget that there was an opportunity during the pandemic to still connect, even though we weren't. Doesn't mean don't go out face to face, right? We all know there's nothing to replace that, but that there's not opportunities now. So it's given us a pause, I think, to focus on new priorities, on personal priorities.
Really well said. One of the traits that we talk about all the time of great leaders is their philanthropy. And because of philanthropy, we met. You were getting involved in something. They were looking for help. Lainey, I would lay in the tracks for. So Lainey introduced me to you. Give us your reasoning, your motivation for philanthropy, and then bring everybody up to speed on what you're currently working on that everybody here can take a hand in helping. Yeah,
I talked about travel, right? And sometimes I think it sounds a little bit, self-centered to travel, right? But to me, the more I thought about why I love to travel so much, as I shared, is yes, it's the thrill, it's the adventure, it's something new, it's invigorating, but it's connecting with people. And once you connect with people, you want to hopefully, well, for me, do good, right? I do say it feels good to do good. And the good news is that it's mutually beneficial, right? You're feeling better, and then what community or person you're helping. So I've always been quite involved, whether it's through business or on my own, trying to find mentoring groups. Back to your initial question, right? Although we've come a long way, there's still that limit that some girls and some women have to being able to get to peak performance. But the other is, especially this one, our American Cancer Society and the Evening of Hope, there is not one person that hasn't been affected by cancer, whether sadly through true loss of a dear, a loved one by cancer, or at least fighting it. And so when, a couple of good friends in the industry reached out for me to donate, our board, some of our board members have been involved with this for a while. I thought, well, beyond donating, can I do more? And so I was asked to chair this event, which is super exciting. The American Cancer Society, if you don't know, it's the Evening of Hope, South Florida Evening of Hope. It's on June 2nd, so it's coming up in just over a month from now, and it's going to kick off the Cancer Survivor Weekend, and so we chose it specifically for that. And truly, it's going to be, as you can see here, the Harbor Beach Marriott. So, central to either Miami-Dade, which is where I live, or Palm Beach County, if you're up north, or right in Broward. And it's a night of dancing. We have live auctions. We have travel prizes, cruise auctions, silent auctions, dancing, great food, good energy, to really celebrate everything American Cancer Society does to help in our own region, as well as, obviously nationwide. So, we hope that the website's right there, ACS, and that you can either, if you're interested in sponsoring, let us know. I'm available. Our beautiful board is available to help, but also to attend, just come and celebrate with us. It's a really great night.
Any questions?
Sponsor, attend, or provide auction items. Would those be the three ways that people can get involved?
The power of three, yes.
The power of three, man, unbelievable. There's very few people who actually understand that. That's a very telling conversation that we could take offline.
We'll continue to promote that through the Huddle, and my mom's side of the family has been ravaged by cancer. My grandfather passed from cancer. All of his brothers passed from cancer. Skin cancer has run rampant through that side of the family. So understand the struggles that come along with it, and super, glad that you are a part of helping raise awareness for that, raise funds for that, and put on a really cool event, which looks like it's going to be a kick-ass.
So, Mark, you're the president of the company. I'm going to put your feet in the fire.
Okay.
How about we sponsor a Huddle table and get people in the Huddle to buy twos? What is it? A table of 10?
Yep, tables of 10. Yeah.
Right, so we'll take 2 of those seats at the table. Let's see who else in the Huddle wants to go.
So we've got 8 slots for a Huddle table. So the Nudelberg Daily Huddle are on the ball. We'll have a table. It will be filled with Huddlers there. So there are 8 slots for the Huddlers that you can reach out to us and purchase a ticket to be a part of the donation that goes towards the American Cancer Society, and that's going to be awesome.
So I want to ask, because I'm just assuming, and that's never good, we know that, but I imagine that in the auction, there's going to be some cruises.
There are going to be some cruises, yes. That's a very good assumption, Steve. You're right. Assuming can get us in trouble, but that was a perfect assumption. Yeah, we have beautiful cruises to Europe, to the Caribbean. We have some river cruises. So if you haven't done a river cruise, which is another fabulous way to travel, truly just great prizes, some gorgeous wines in our silent auction. I mean, just they're fantastic wines that have been donated, fortunately. And, as you mentioned, Mark, if you can't attend, or actually it doesn't have to be either or, attend. And if you are a small business and would kindly be able to offer a silent auction prize, we would love that. And again, it goes to the American Cancer Society, especially the Evening of Hope. It stays within South Florida, right? So we're helping, it's important to help nationwide, but this is helping our backyard with education, with Hope Lounge. Yeah. So it's really, really powerful and important.
So I don't know if you can talk to this, if it's at your disposal, but I know just from the conversations I have with people, cancer affects everybody. I mean, there's every conversation, somebody either has it, is fighting it. Next Thursday night, I'm taking a friend of mine and Helen's I've been friendly with her since high school. She's fighting breast cancer. And, this diagnosis doesn't have to be, Eddie Dykes. Yeah,
Thank
So we got an
you.
Oceania from Eddie. That's awesome.
Eddie,
Thank you, Eddie.
he's next to me,
Yeah, I was
brother.
gonna say you're not gonna take the seat.
You know how? Come on,
All
brother.
right,
We
Eddie,
are
we'll
having a
reach out.
barbecue
We'll
with
reach
them. They
out.
may be done seeing us for a while. So
Yeah, right. Just so you know, we're having dinner with Eddie and his family.
can we point the camera back at Nikki for a second? Because
Yes.
I want to ask you a question, because we don't always get sales leaders here on the show.
Okay.
And I want to kind of steer the conversation to some of what we do, which is help a lot of people modernize the business development process. There's a lot of entrepreneurs in here that run organizations that are also revenue responsible. How have you changed your business development strategy? What is your guys' business development strategy? How do you guys continue to add new opportunity to your pipeline?
Okay. Well, and so for the cruise industry, there's and I suppose for most, but two main channels that we work very closely with: the travel agency community, so the trade, and we also then of course have guests that want to, prospects that want to call us and book direct. For my company specifically, we are vastly tied to, and I say tied to, but in a very willing way, the travel agency community is our core business. And so how we have changed this process, and especially when you asked Steve about the pandemic, is so many travel agencies and advisors went virtual as opposed to a brick and mortar agency. So we had to reinvent how we made a sales call. What was a sales call online? How is a sales call engaging via, a tech, platform versus in person? How do you exude, confidence, passion, interest? So that was the first thing, is really retooling to a virtual platform, which again, we hope to keep today, right? Because it is more efficient. Oh, Henry. Hi, Henry. I hope you sell some Oceania. If not, I'll be calling you.
Henry is fantastic. Henry is a very well-connected human being who will also be doing the huddle. So
you hit on a word there that said retool, which that is a major proposition for our company. How did you guys go about retooling your people and reskilling your people?
Yeah,
And we'll go to overtime.
I earned overtime. I feel good.
Go.
Just
Or does everyone get overtime? Wait a second.
Not
everybody gets overtime.
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing was, and it sounds very basic, but we just actually trained on the tech, right? To make sure that, people weren't fumbling through. The second part was retooling our databases. And that was another huge. So now where are the travel advisors if they're no longer in a brick and mortar? So we had to do a lot of, kind of reconnaissance on where are the folks that are. And then the other part was finding new ways to get leads, because you were no longer had trade shows or travel shows, which was our lead gen from a travel industry perspective. We, from a marketing perspective, then pivoted to digital marketing. So we're very much a direct mail company, and we still do that. But during the pandemic, so I'm sharing things from the pandemic, but they've carried through, right? Sure. You don't then just, kind of put them in a drawer. So we've carried those through, to today. I would say the biggest change is the balance of in-person sales calls and online sales calls.
Amen. Amen.
Wow.
I was going to say, so like,
okay.
Hey, Nikki,
right,
I don't know if you know, but we happen to teach individual salespeople how to market themselves and how to create their own inbound leads. Maybe we should have a conversation sometime.
We should.
I
walked into all of that, huh?
That's funny.
Hilarious. That's great.
What the hell's going on out here?
We totally lost control.
Total.
So in the last minute or so, what's one thing that everybody here should know about you personally that they don't already know?
All right. Well, personally, I haven't talked about, the reason for being, which is family and my children. Yeah. So I have 3 beautiful, fabulous, and I know every parent, or I hope every parent says that about their kids, and daughter Alexandra up in Arlington, 25, my son Connor in Chicago, and then my little one Kira here in Miami with me. But just truly, not only just joy, right? But it is what keeps us, well, not only young, but thinking, stimulated. They're just vibrant. They're interesting. And so it's just a really, really, well, of course, just the most fulfilling facet of my life.
I'm thrilled that you were able to join us today. I was thrilled when I met you. I, adopted virtual connecting long before the pandemic. So it was common for me, and it's not as easy to connect. You have to have different skills. And you and I thought that call I got off and I felt like somebody plugged me in. So it is great to have you part of our orbit. We are glad to help any way we can. We will definitely keep promoting. We will fill up this table. Lainey Jones, please get with me afterwards so that I can talk to you about some of the restaurant partners we have who might be able to give you some, some stuff for the auction. So we'll do what we can, as we always promised. But what a great thrill to have you on. Congratulations for your success, for taking the helm of this charity.
And steering the ship, right?
Nice. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I hope we see lots.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we can't wait to see you all.
Huddler in the hot seat.
So we will see you June 2nd.
Yes, we'll see you June 2nd. Thank you. And I hope a lot of others can join us, or at least
I can tell you that Joy Linsky and her husband are already in. They texted me, so they'll be at the table with us. So
we'll have a great night. That's going to be fun. And then Rashad says she has earned that girl is on fire, man.
Yeah. Well done. Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great weekend. The grind includes Saturday and Sunday. Let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down.